Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into an absolutely wild strategic breakdown. We're looking at how a tiny, seemingly isolated event can trigger a massive avalanche on the battlefield. We'll be dissecting a recent report that shows exactly how a highly localized infantry raid can set off a chain reaction that literally paralyzes an entire military regiment. Let's get right into it. So, here's the central question we're looking at today. How exactly does a single infantry raid paralyze a whole regiment? It sounds kind of counterintuitive, right? I mean, normally we think of massive artillery barrages or huge armored pushes as the only way to break a large formation. But what we're unpacking today is a macro-level systemic collapse that starts with just a handful of soldiers. We're going to see how precision, intelligence, and basically just exploiting structural vulnerabilities can achieve what sheer firepower sometimes can't. Section 1. A stealthy forest raid. To understand how this whole domino effect gets set in motion, we have to look at a stealth infiltration operation deep in the dense forests of the Lyman direction. Now, this wasn't some loud, brute force attack. This was surgical. It required incredible discipline and specialized gear. First up, the Ukrainian operators moved in wearing modern ghillie suits. And these aren't just for blending in with the leaves. They're specifically tailored to dampen heat signatures, which is absolutely crucial for slipping past thermal reconnaissance drones. Second, and I find this detail really fascinating, they actually pinpointed the Russian strongpoint because of terrible trash discipline. The operators literally spotted empty cans just left lying all over the place, completely giving away the soldiers' exact location. From there, they pushed deeper, initiated a fierce firefight, and fully cleared the dugout. Just textbook tactical clearance. Section 2. Exploiting captured intelligence. But winning that initial firefight, that was literally just the first domino. The second the position was cleared, the operators immediately flipped the switch to intelligence gathering. To do this safely behind cover, they quickly stripped off their heavy jackets and combat gear so they could covertly analyze their loot right then and there, rather than risking exposure out in the open. By scooping up sensitive documents, physical maps, and vital radios from that dugout, they were able to tap directly into Russian communications. They were listening in on key conversations. And through this, they pulled off something incredible. They tracked down the commander of Russia's 36th Motor Rifle Regiment. Think about that. From one single forest trench, they meticulously mapped out the exact routine and movements of a high-ranking regiment commander. Section 3. Striking the command structure. With that highly sensitive intel in hand, the whole operation shifts from a fast-paced tactical raid into this really patient, high-stakes waiting game. The intelligence forces didn't just strike right away. They mapped the commander's routine and patiently waited for the absolute perfect moment when he'd be most vulnerable, completely unable to hide. That moment, when he was exposed on the road. Now, hitting a moving target is incredibly difficult on a good day, but the report points out a crucial detail here. To minimize exposure to observation and cut down travel time, these high-value targets travel on damaged roads at extreme speeds, often pushing well over 100 kilometers per hour. So you've got this fast-moving vehicle desperately trying to outrun any potential threat from the sky. But in this case, speed just wasn't enough. A Ukrainian kamikaze drone actually managed to close in and nail the commander's car, a staggering 87 kilometers behind the front line, right near the settlement of Dmitrivka. I mean, really think about that distance for a second. The intel gathered in a muddy frontline trench was translated into a precision strike nearly 90 kilometers away, in the deep rear of the battlefield. It's wild. Section 4. Paralyzing the regiment. So what happens next? Well, the immediate aftermath of that drone strike didn't just take out a vehicle, it heavily wounded the newly appointed regiment commander and 3 key staff members traveling with him. And those staff members? They were effectively his second, third, and fourth string replacements, and they were all taken out of commission at once. In a single blow, the entire regiment was essentially beheaded. Now, the reason this specific strike was so uniquely devastating really boils down to a massive structural vulnerability. You see, the Russian military relies on highly centralized command. This is a very rigid military structure, where junior officers generally have super limited freedom to make decisions without direct approval from higher headquarters. So when you completely remove the commander and his immediate replacements, you don't just lose an experienced leader, you fundamentally break the very mechanism that allows the regiment to function at all. You paralyze the entire formation, simply because no one left on the ground has the authority to step up. Section 5. The Domino Effect. Now, if we zoom out to the macro-level view of the entire sector, we start to see this crazy chain reaction of cascading failures. This paralysis doesn't just stay back at rear headquarters, it rapidly spreads forward, all the way to the troops sitting in the frontline trenches who are actively responsible for advancing toward Lyman. When the headquarters goes dark, communications immediately start breaking down. Frontline assault groups rely entirely on that now missing headquarters to coordinate their movements, so without it, they totally lose coordination. On top of that, their crucial supporting fires, stuff like artillery, drone, and aviation support, become either severely delayed or completely unavailable. The whole thing just grinds to a halt because the brain of the operation is gone. And the crisis definitely doesn't stop with just that one regiment. Because modern front lines are so tightly interconnected, the paralysis of one unit creates a huge dilemma for everybody around them. Neighboring units are suddenly forced into a terrible choice. If the regiment next to them becomes static, well, their flanks are suddenly exposed. So they basically have to either divert their own forces to cover this newly formed growing gap, which obviously weakens their own offensive, or they have to stubbornly keep advancing while risking getting totally outflanked and encircled. By removing just one piece, the entire defensive or offensive line is forced to awkwardly shift, risking a total collapse. Ultimately, what we're seeing here is a really stark contrast in strategy. Instead of the traditional goal of targeting frontline positions for a brutal meter-by-meter slog just to win a little bit of ground, this report highlights a much broader operational strategy: targeting decision-making. By combining the intelligence from a small, low-cost infantry raid with a precision strike deep in the rear, entire formations can be paralyzed. The whole goal of this strategy is to exploit the resulting chaos, launching follow-on attacks before replacement commanders can even arrive to restore control. It's about turning a localized tactical success into a massive operational breakthrough. Which leaves us with a final, really provocative thought. Will this strategy of turning localized chaos into broader breakthroughs completely redefine the modern front line? If highly centralized command structures can be exploited this effectively from the bottom up, literally starting with something as simple as empty trash cans in a forest, we might be looking at a fundamental shift in how this conflict, and honestly perhaps future conflicts, are fought. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, keep analyzing, and I'll catch you in the next one.